I'm going to backtrack just for a couple of seconds to show you a video I released a couple of weeks ago. This was my first video really using a skew chisel, and I was afraid of the peel cut. So in this video, I'm going to take these blanks that I glued up long before I was making YouTube videos. Usually just some scraps from the scrap pile. I don't like throwing wood away, so I'm going to reuse them. But I'm going to take these blanks and I'm going to try and turn tool handles using just the skew chisel. Now I have taken a few classes on the skew at the Northeastern Woodworkers Association's show in Saratoga Springs, New York in March. So I did a little bit there, but watching a guy who's incredible on the skew in the front of the room and actually doing it are two different things. So I did the spatula video where I tried to use the skew for the entire thing, and I couldn't handle the transitions, and I was afraid of the peel cut. Now, since the spatula video, I have been practicing, and I've been practicing that peel cut and the shear cut. So I'm not completely green here, and I kind of had an idea I could do this. So these scraps that I glued up here, these are kind of gnarly pieces. They're from the scrap pile. I didn't want to throw them away. I don't like burning wood, like I said. So these pieces were not the best wood I had. As you can see, there is a big crack in the back there. Now this is going to be a bit of an issue. There's a knot at the top, and I'm going to have to work my way through that. Working my way down the handle, trying to make it into a cylinder. As I get towards the headstock, we're going to notice the tool start to bounce and dance. And there it goes. It's starting to bounce. Boom. What's going on here is I'm going through a very nasty knot. So this knot is fighting me. It's very hard, and the different density causes the tool to jump. So here I'm going to try and blow it up so you can see it a little better. There it is, that very rough spot. That's the knot. I'm going to fight this the entire turn. It's going to have to be something that I'm going to have to deal with and keep in mind as I turn this. And here it goes again as I do a shear cut. Tool starts to bounce right there. It's very nasty within there. And as I do that shear cut, even though I'm cutting it, it's just keeps grabbing the tool. But I'm going to have to deal with it. This is something I'm going to have to fix. Seems that the point works a little better down here, and just in general, I seem to like to lead with the long point. I don't know if that's the correct. If you have a suggestion, please say so in the comments. Should I lead with the long point? Is that valid? I'm not sure, to be honest with you. One of the challenges with wood turning, and especially with the skew, is switching hands. So here I'm coming down in one direction. Now I need to switch hands and go into the other direction. So you've got to be able to go and switch it up to be able to change hands. I'm getting better at it. I'm usually pretty good with my left. I'm a righty. But it's a challenge, and it takes a little getting used to. Continuing to make it round, make it into a cylinder. Still got that point down. That seems to be my preferred method there. I think we're close, a couple more passes, and we should have a nice round cylinder. Not quite there. You can see that crack there. We showed that earlier. And we're getting close. We still got a little bit of a flat spot. One or two more shearing cuts and we should be there. I'm really kind of getting used to that shearing cut, and I'm kind of pleased with how I'm doing here with the skew chisel. Okay, we're mounted between centers. I've got it mounted into my one-way chuck with the sharp jaw, so I got a good grip on it. I'm now going to, it's very rough here where that knot is. We're going to drill this out to the depth of the tape very slowly. Taking my time. Okay, with this drilled, my head not hitting the camera. With this drilled out, I'm now going to cut for the finial. My finials, I just use these plumbing couplings. I bought a whole bunch of these before all the crazy inflation started, so these were actually, at this point, were really cheap. So I'm going to cut this back. I think this is a 3/4 inch one. Cut myself so this will slip on, then I will glue this on. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to just fit this onto the end. So let me take the Jacob's chuck out of here, get this thing set up, and we'll turn it down so that we can apply him to the end. I'm going to cut a tenon for the finial, which in this case is going to be
a plumbing coupling. So I'll make it a little bigger than it needs to be, but I'll keep reducing this down until the coupling just fits over the piece using that peel cut, which I was afraid to do a couple of weeks ago. Once I've got the coupling on there, I will glue it on. So I'm going to sneak up on the diameter for this tenon. This is really the only diameter, the only tenon that matters. It's got to be just right so the finial or copper coupling will fit right over that. So I'm going to take my time, sneak up on this because I can't add wood back once I take it off. When I'm reducing some sizes down, it's not as important, but right now this is critical and this is precise. So I want the coupling to just fit over it, but I don't want it to be too tight or too loose. So every once in a while I'm going to stop, I'm going to check it. The tenon is too long for the coupling. So I'm going to reduce that end down and kind of put a cone shape on it so it'll just fit inside the mouth of the copper coupling. Then I will burn a line in where it meets it, so I'll know what's the exact size I need to slip this tenon, to make this tenon so that it'll slip just inside of the copper coupling. So here I go, I apply it to the end, try to make a mark, try to do a burnish. Now you can see it right there, there's the line. And I'll do that peel cut so that I create the tenon that is about that size. I'm going to probably use a little bit of sandpaper to just do that final little bit, but giving myself a nice even piece there on the end. And there it is. We're ready to hook the copper right onto it.
I have some Harbor Freight instant setting epoxy, 90 seconds it says. A question in 90 seconds, but what am I going to argue? I'm going to rough up the inside of my finial, which is a copper coupling.
I'm concerned that if I bring the tailstock up and just attach it to the end, that I'll split it. That wall isn't that thick. So I'm going to take the epoxy that I mixed up and I'm going to slip that copper coupling, the finial, onto the end, make sure it's snugly fit, and then let it dry for a few seconds. That'll stop it from splitting. This handle is for a wide mouth angled carbide scraper. I have a straight wide mouth carbide scraper and I like the handle, so I want to kind of duplicate the handle. So I'm going to mark all the transitions, the high points, the low points, somewhere along the line. Then I'm going to take a parting tool and I'm going to dig a dado or a rabbit or a ditch, whatever it is, that kind of matches the diameter at that transition of the old tool. Once I have the dado, in the comments, let me know, is it a dado or is it a rabbit? When I cut that, I'll know the diameter. Then I can just take and connect the dots and I'll have a handle that kind of matches the handle of the other tool. Now I know the other tool works. I know it fits in my holder. I know it fits in my hand. So I kind of want it to be the same. It doesn't have to be. It's not perfect. This isn't really high precision stuff. I'm trying to see how close I can get it just for practice, but it doesn't really matter. If I'm off a little bit, if the transition's not quite right, it doesn't matter. It'll still work and it'll still do everything I need it to do. So here I have the parting tool and I have all my transition points and I have my sizes. You can see the parting tool is creating a little bit of smoke. I didn't see that when I was there, but in the camera it's picking it up. So I'm going to reduce the diameter at each transition to what it was on the other tool. So each dado will be the diameter at that transition from the other tool. Then I'll take the skew chisel and I will attempt to connect the dots, making sure I have a transition and I have a nice smooth flowing line between them, which is the part I couldn't do before, which is going to be the hard part here that I'm a little bit nervous about. Can I do it? So we'll finish this up for the dados here for the end, and then we'll switch to a skew. So I'm going to start with that peel cut, which I seem to have really mastered. It's all about the RPMs. That's what I've learned here. The skew likes the RPM, so I'm going to reduce this down to the diameter that's kind of close to where these two transitions are. Keep working my way between them. Then when I have everything reduced down to almost the right size, I'll come back with a shearing cut and I will do that transition, that smooth line. That's the part I'm nervous about. That's the part I couldn't do on the spatula video. I'm going to switch to a shear cut here because I've kind of got my diameter right here at the end before I move the tool rest. So work my way down here. This is the part that I was worried about, trying to give me a smooth transition because it's thick at the end and it gets narrow as I move towards the front two transitions. Tool rest move. I'm going to start at the other end and work my way back. First thing I have to do is this is the hard part. This is the part that I was concerned about. It's this angle right here that I was having difficulty because I need to transition from this big Y down to the size of the finial. So I've got to kind of work that down, and I want it to be a nice pleasing curve. This is what I couldn't do before. I managed to get this here. I'm still a little nervous. I don't know if I have it. You can see it's still a little bit big, a little bit of peeling there to work with my way back. So I've kind of got that shape there, but I'm procrastinating what I'm doing here. Is because I've got to go downhill again so it comes up to the big part, then it kind of goes down. And that bulb makes sure that sits in my tool holder. So I've got to be sure that transition is right, but I've got to kind of work my way in. I'm trying to keep the handle on its side. That seems to work, but I'm kind of sneaking up on it. A little bit of procrastination again because I like doing the peel cut. I couldn't do it before, and I'm really actually at this point quite proud of myself that I figured it out. So I'm kind of liking the peel cut here. I mean, this is sped up a little bit, but there's not that much, and it's really taking it off quick. So now I'm going to go back to a shear cut, and we're going to try and smooth this. Now, this is the low point here that I'm working at. That's the lowest diameter piece there. So now I need to work my way uphill to the end because it's wider at the end. It's not quite as wide as that bulb on the front, but very close. And that bulb on the front needs to be reduced. So I'm working my way down. Again, I'm better with the tip, the long tip. I seem to like that. It surprises me because it looks scary, but reality is it works a lot better. One of the things I like about spindle turning is the sanding's really easy. So I'm going to start with a 180 grit. I had a pretty clean cut except for that knot down there. I got a little bit of roughness there. I might have hit that with the 120. I don't really remember. So I'm going over this starting with 180, working my way up to 220. Then we're going to put some Waterlux on it. Well, first we're going to cut it off the lathe. Then we'll add some Waterlux. Not sure what this cut is called, but I'm cutting it off from the lathe. So I'm going to work my way in, trying to reduce the size of that piece there so it gets smaller. Just kind of put a curve on the end of the tool there. I switched to the smaller Skew Chisel. That's easier for detail work. The big one just kind of gets in the way. The smaller one lets me see everything that's there. So here I've got it almost there, and I'm just going to twist it right off. There it goes. One tool handle. This turns out this wood was oak. There's your end. You see it's too long. We'll take care of that at the drum sander. But it's looking good. Here we are at the drum sander. I'm just going to reduce the end of that tenon so it just kisses the end of the finial. Then I'll take it and I'll do the other end because there's still a little bit of a nub on the end where it was attached to the piece. And I'll just lightly sand that off. So here we have some Waterlux. I'm going to start with just a satin. I will eventually put a gloss on this because I put a lot of gunky stuff on my hands. These tools get abused, and I think the gloss does a better job at getting rid of some of the finish and some of the polish and all that kind of stuff in here. So I'll put on 2 or 3 coats of Waterlux satin, and then I will add a coat of gloss. Okay, here we go. Several coats of Waterlux satin, and then a couple of coats of the gloss. I have tape on both ends because I need to glue in the actual handle itself. So I've got some JB Weld here. I'm not going to go with the Harbor Freight stuff because it says it's 90 seconds, and I don't know if I believe it, but I want some open time. I might have to wrestle this into place. So I'm just going to pour it out on a brick. We're going to be arrested. This is going to be the end of this tube. I'm going to need to buy some more. Then I'll mix it up and we'll apply it to the end. So a decent amount of epoxy in the hole we drilled in the handle, and then we'll add some to the tool itself just to be sure we have good coverage. We don't have any spots in there. Then we're going to have to push it in. It's going to be a real tight fit. It's actually a square peg on the end there going into a round hole. So I'm pushing that in. I'm going to use the hammer to give it a little bit of a tap. You're going to see a little bit of bleed out here. And there we go. It's coming out. And we're set. We got ourselves a handle and a tool. I actually made 3 tool handles this week, not 2. Only one is really featured in the video. Another one will have a short. 2 of them are from Thompson Tools. I got them at the Northeastern Woodworkers Association Showcase in March 2026. One's a bowl gouge. The other is a spindle gouge. The oak handle for the wide mouth scraper came out beautiful. I'm really pleased with it. I can't wait to use it. That nice angle will be very useful, helping me get in there. This has a long handle so I can go deep within a bowl. Then I have the tool rest next to my lathe. These are the favorite tools. These are the ones that I use the most. There's other places for tools, but these are my favorites. Now, thanks for watching. I hope to see you next week. Please like and subscribe, and thank you.